Good morning, guys. Welcome back to Olivia's Blooms. Today I have some tasks I'm really excited about. I'm going to be harvesting some potatoes right down here in my potato bed. I'm going to be harvesting some of the ornamental glass gem corn that looks like it's ready, and that I'm very excited about as well. That is right here. It's very tall. And I'm also going to be harvesting some onions and maybe doing a few other garden tasks. We'll see how much time we have. But it is morning, it is cool. We are here in July, and for those of you that may not know me, I am in Charlottesville, Zone 7A. So let's get started with these potatoes. Okay, so here we are at my potato bed, and it looks like a mess. It kind of is a mess, but don't let that fool you. There'll be some beautiful potatoes under here. So I planted in late March 3 different types of potatoes. I had never grown potatoes before, and I wanted to see what did well in our area and how they grew in my bed setup. So I planted red New Orleans, and those did beautifully for me. I harvested those at the end of June, and I'll throw up a picture of those. But I also have some russet Burbank potatoes and some Kennebec potatoes, and those I'm going to be harvesting today. Now the plants look pretty sad, and I thought, and they're pretty eaten by bugs too. I thought I wasn't going to get any potatoes, so back in June I started pulling out the red New Orleans. Those looked the worst first. They turned this brown, so I thought, well, let me check to see if we got any potatoes, and I got a ton. So I waited. I gave these guys a little bit longer because they seemed like they needed more time, and I think they're getting to the point now that where, even though they've got some good green leaf growth on them, they're getting a little diseased. So I'm gonna pull these out and see what potatoes I get. You'll also notice there's a lot of hay in this bed. I used that to mulch up, to hill up the potatoes, to protect them from the sun and make sure they don't turn green and poisonous. And that also helped with the moisture control. But I do have drip in here as well. You can see a little leftover Kennebec potato there. And I've got some mushrooms growing, which, you know, it seems weird, but I think mushrooms typically indicate good soil health, so I'll welcome them to the garden. We get a lot of rain around here. So I'm just going to be wearing gloves. I'm not going to be using any tools to dig up the potatoes today. You can use tools to make it easier, but I like using my hands because I don't pierce anything, and I'm not growing so many potatoes that I can't dig them out by hand. If you were growing maybe a large area of potatoes, you might want to use some sort of tool, but I'm going to be moving the mulch out of the way and moving it to the side here, and just feeling around underneath where the plants were. And I think I already pulled some out of this area, so I may not have any right here, but let's see if we can find any. Oh, I can see one right there. Ooh, that's a good size. Look at that one. And I'll place these right here now. See what else we can find in here. Sometimes they like to hide. I did get one of my daughters to come out and dig some potatoes with me. She enjoyed that activity. It was almost like a treasure hunt for her. Here you can see the russet Burbank potatoes, a couple right there. So I'm gonna go ahead and keep digging around and see what I can find. And I'll show you what we got in the end. Look at this harvest, you guys. I'm not gonna lie, that was so much fun and so satisfying, and I cannot believe how many potatoes I got, especially because the plants themselves did not look like they were doing well. I'd have to say these lighter skinned potatoes, I believe these are the russet, I'll have to double check. They did the best for me, which is too bad because these really darker skinned potatoes, they made the crispiest, the most delicious french fries when I baked them up. because I harvested a few of them earlier in late June to see if they were ready when the red potatoes were. But I think I got all the potatoes. You can definitely miss some. Here's some red ones I missed earlier. But I mean, this isn't even the entire harvest. This is a good portion of it, but I mean, this is a 4x4 bed, and I did not even use all of it for the potatoes. I'd say I used about 3/4 of it, and with only a couple dollars worth of seed potatoes that I got from just Lowe's, I got a huge harvest, and that is so exciting to me. I wanted to show you guys this too. Here you can sort of see, this was the seed potato I started with. I just cut it in half, and the plant grows right from there, and then all of the other potatoes grow from these roots that come out of the plant. So I thought that was pretty cool. All right, let's harvest some of that beautiful corn. Okay, so here we are in my corn patch, and this is the first year that I have grown corn, both sweet and ornamental corn. I already harvested. I did some small baby orchard corn from Baker Creek. That was so much fun to grow, so easy, really fast growing, small ears. But I also wanted to grow some ornamental corn, and this corn got super tall. Now it's up in a few feet up in a raised bed, so that also lends to why it's so tall. But some of these ears look like they're ready to harvest, and what I learned about harvesting corn is the first sign that the corn is ready to harvest are that the silks turn this dark brown, and not just brown at the tips, but when I open it up as a test, you kind of want them to be brown all the way down. See, you can see this one's still not brown, so I'm not going to harvest this one today, but this one, it looks like it might be ready. So I'm going to open it up and take a little peek in here. Oh, nope, that one's not ready. See how white that is? So I'm going to give this more time, close that back up. Another tip for knowing when corn is ready to harvest is you sort of see it pulling away from the stalk. When you look at this stalk here, this corn has the dark silks at the top, and you can see how it sort of started to pull away from the stalk there. So let's take a peek at this one and see if it's ready. Let's open it up. Okay, the silks are looking pretty brown, but yeah, it's still brown. Let's take a peek at the actual corn itself. There's a friend in there. Oh, and there's a beautiful, beautiful colors. So I'm going to pull this one off. Now, you can see this one didn't get fully pollinated. See if you can see this, which is too bad. But, you know, I'm not going to be sad about it. I still think it's beautiful. Look at that. Oh, and I'm just going to use these in the fall for decorating. Probably, I think what I want to try and do is use these in the place of flowers, maybe put a bunch in a vase. So let me see if a few other of these are ready. Let's pull this one off and take a look at it. So apparently I didn't get great pollination on these at the tips. I think that's just going to have to be the look this fall, is like they're wearing little hats. But the rest of the corn is beautiful. Wow. Okay, so I grabbed a few more of these that looked ready. Turn it down a little bit so you can see. Let's open them up and see what we find. Something else that's fun that you can do with corn, and I did this with my smaller sweet corn, is, oh, look at that. Oh, it's like a pastel rainbow. So I took the stalks intact, and I put them in my basement to dry, and I'm going to try and use those as well, maybe in some fall decorations, maybe as centerpieces to some fall pots. Just put some dried corn stalks in the middle, maybe some pumpkins around them. I've seen lots of different people use them in different ways to decorate, so look at that one. I'm gonna go, I'm not sure if I'll save these. These guys are kind of big, and they're breaking a little bit when I take them off the stalk, but I might try and save some of these bigger ones too. We'll see. I am growing another succession of sweet corn. Oh, this one has a lot of, this one definitely didn't get pollinated. I don't know what that is at the top there. And for any of corn experts, if you know how to get better pollination, I did have flowers around here. I think we're still working on our local bee population though, being a new garden. Oh, that's an interesting look. Hey, I'll take it. Ooh, look at this one. Look at those. This one has darker colors. Beautiful. So I was saying I have another succession of sweet corn. A quick 60-day corn that I'm going to use for a fall crop. And I can show you that one here in a minute. So here's the last one I picked. Ooh, this one has more like blues and yellows. It's just like opening a present. So cool. This one I might have picked a little bit early. Not a ton of color on it. Gardening requires a lot of patience. Okay, so here's a look at all of the corn that we just harvested. And even though it's not perfect, oh, it's so beautiful. I can't wait to dry these and decorate with them. I tried where I could to leave some stalk on. I think that'll make it a little bit easier to arrange or decorate with, but I wasn't successful with all of them, but I think this will help. And I still have tons of corn maturing, the ornamental corn, that I'm going to leave on a little bit longer, and so I'll have even more. But man, gardening is so much fun. Here's a peek at my second succession of sweet corn, looking good. Okay, so I have onions in two places in my vegetable garden. I ran out of space in the first area, so I stuck some over here. Interestingly, these are not ready for harvest yet, but the ones I planted in this area look like they are ready, and I don't know if that has to do with the light they're getting or the spacing. Maybe I placed the other ones too close together. So interesting that, you know, different parts of your garden, even just a few feet away, can have different growing conditions. But I'm gonna pull the ones of these that look like they are fallen over and ready to harvest, and I'm gonna lay them out on the ground, and then we're gonna take them in the basement to cure. And curing just means essentially drying for a couple weeks so that the moisture can leave the onions and the sugars can concentrate till the leaves die back, and then they're ready to store. Okay, so hopefully you can see my bed of onions pretty well. So this is actually bigger than I was expecting. I grew the Yellow of Parma onions from Baker Creek, and those are actually a smaller bulbing onion, and I don't typically need giant bulbs when I'm cooking, so that's why I thought those were a good variety for me to grow. So I mean, this is great, no complaints here. Let's see. Pretty good size. There's a teeny tiny one. Probably planted that too close to another one. I'm getting all sorts of different sizes here, and that's probably because I didn't space them really accurately. I sort of just stuck them in when I had time, but you know, Sometimes you need a small onion, so I'll use all of these. Or if I need a bigger onion, I can just use 2 of the smaller ones. I'm sure they will all taste delicious. And I planted these onions very, very early. I think in January actually is when I started the seeds, and then I planted them out probably, I'm gonna say, in February. The onions that are still standing upright, I'm gonna let those bulb up a little bit more and leave them in there. I don't need to harvest them all today. I'm just gonna pull the ones that are telling me they're ready. Okay, so for the most part, everything that's left is standing pretty upright. I'm gonna give all of these guys just a little more time to bulb up. But overall, that was a great harvest, and I have them laid out here. I'm gonna bring them in my basement. I'll take you along with me to dry. But we'll get tons of meals out of those. And you can't really tell, but that was not a lot of space. So in this bed on each side is where I had my garlic. And again, this is a 4x4 bed. And in the middle of the garlic is where I planted all my onions. And because they're both in the allium family and very hungry eaters, I wonder if maybe planting them separately next year, I'll get bigger onions. My garlic did perfectly well though, and huge bulbs. And I don't know that I noticed a huge difference in the ones over here that weren't planted next to the garlic, but it's fun to experiment. And we'll see what these guys end up being in terms of size, the ones I planted over here. Also sort of fun, my coworker during our seed swap really wanted me to plant a Egyptian walking onion for her. I've never grown that before, so we'll see how that one does. And that's the Egyptian walking onion right there. So this is where all of the potatoes and the onions ended up. We are in my basement in my seed starting area. And this is where I put my garlic to cure, and also where I'm putting my potatoes and my onions to dry. A couple notes, you do not have to cure your onions or garlic inside. A lot of people that grow these crops, they'll cure them outside. You just want to make sure wherever it is that it's not going to get rained on, and you probably want to keep it out of direct sunlight. And I have these lights on right now just so you can see where I put everything. I'm going to turn them off. These are just the lights I use when I'm starting seeds, but I don't need them on when I'm curing crops. Here's where the glass gem corn ended up. I also have this fan here, and again, I have that on usually when I'm starting seeds, just so that they get nice and strong and to emulate the wind as they start to grow bigger, and it helps them adapt to outside. But I also decided, why not run it while I'm curing vegetables? Again, I'm in a very humid area, and so anything I can do to help keep things dry, I'll take it. And just a quick look, you want to make sure your bulbs are not touching, just so that you don't want them to start rotting, or if one starts rotting, you don't want it to spread. So pretty simple, and I'll come back in a couple weeks and probably cut off the what will then be dried stalks and store them. So thanks again for harvesting with me today, guys. I hope you had as much fun as I did. Bye. Today, and I'm going to leave the rest to mature. Oh, goodness, no. No. That is not what you want to grow. Nope. This feels empty. Let's open it up and see. Yep. Wow. This is a good example of what you don't want. Yes. That's why I'm here, is to show you what you don't want to grow. not glass gem corn. Salty.